Hello everybody, welcome back to another video on the ChaddyTheChump channel, and today we are going to be discussing the huge rematch between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. It's the rematch, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and hopefully it's going to be as good as the last one was, because that was an absolute barnstormer. So we're going to be talking about the fight, predicting it, predicting the undercard as well. So let's get right into it. Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn 2. Look, I think most people watched the last fight, of course. I mean, even if you didn't watch it, you probably watched it the morning after just because of how good it was. But if you did watch it live like I did, it was incredible, really. The whole event, everything around it. I mean, you know, the build-up, fight week was very good. And the event itself was good, of course. Chris Eubank Sr. turning up at the event. And the fight over-delivered, in my opinion, and in most people's opinion, right? But now it's the rematch. Now, some people are a bit skeptical. Maybe they believe that this shouldn't be happening. But it is happening. And I do think it should happen. It's the best fight for both men. If you're thinking from a economical standpoint, it's definitely the best fight. And I guess you could argue for Conor Benn, you could get the world title shot, this and that, but he also does want to avenge his loss. I mean, look, it doesn't look good on the record with a loss to Chris Eubank Jr. if you're looking for world titles. It doesn't look good. Any loss doesn't really look good. But for a fighter who hasn't won a world title in Eubank Jr., losing to him, just, it makes yourself not worthy. So Benn will be wanting to get revenge, right? Revenge is one word. Or just simply the win back to maintain his, stature as a world level fighter and a world level operator to get the world title shot. Benn does have a fight lined up after this at 147. Now, I think it's going to be very hard to get back down to that weight. In my opinion, he should just stay at 160, which is what this fight is at. But I guess we'll find out about that after the fight. But, if he loses to this, I don't think a world title shot is on. And he could definitely lose to this. But we are going to talk about that in just a sec. So, Eubank obviously coming off of the win, right? He won 116, 112 on all three scorecards. And he did win the first fight, right? It was a war. But, Eubank has that experience, and he used that against Conor Benn. And really, it was a brawl, a bar fight, some say. But in terms of a bar fight, having more experience when, you are going to war is still going to be better. And if it was a more technical boxing match, I think Eubank would have won. And this time around, we may be getting that, right? I know a lot of people, including myself, do want it to be the war it was last time because of how good that was. But there's a huge possibility we do get more of a boxing match, right? It depends on Benn's experience, whether he can just lock in, focus, and actually box. But I don't think he's going to be able to actually box. I think after 2 rounds, he's going to go back to his usual self, which is, throwing haymakers and just basically not using your head and maybe using your heart instead. And Eubank obviously capitalised off that last time. And I do think if it does happen in the way I've just said, Eubank will win again. it very much could happen that way. It could be a boxing match. We're not going to know until that bell sounds. But in terms of a knockout chance for Conor Benn, it's probably more likely than Eubank winning by knockout. I do think Benn does have a pretty good chin. He showed that in the first fight, but then again, Eubank also does have the better chin, but he was probably more hurt in that first fight. So the prediction, who gets the win? It is going to be a close one again. It was a close one the first fight. Both are coming to, you know, try and put an end to this feud, and I think there will be an end to this feud come fight night. But I just can't see Conor Benn winning. I just don't think he has, you know, the IQ to win on points and the power to win by knockout, which means I do think Eubank and the Eubanks overall will reign supreme once again and get the victory. Now, whether it be by KO, I don't think so. I think another points win. I think it could be very similar to the first fight in the fact that it does just become a brawl because Conor Benn doesn't have the experience to make it an out-and-out boxing match. So I am going to predict... fuck me. So I am going to predict Eubank to get the win. Okay, now let's talk a bit about the undercard because it is a very, very good undercard in my opinion. The co-main event, Jack Catterall taking on Echo Asuman. Now, the winner of this pretty much guarantees a world title shot, right? And if they don't get it, it's just not fair, really. You know, because these guys are both world-class welterweights, and, you know, Jack Catterall had a bit too many shots at, you know, getting that number one contender for welterweight, and he ended up losing against Barboza, which was still a close fight. And Echo Asuman obviously coming off of that win to Josh Taylor in Glasgow. So the winner of this 100% deserves a world title shot. Now my prediction is going to be a Jack Catterall win. I think Catterall will be much better. You know, there is a chance we actually see a more front-footed Jack Catterall who's, you know, coming at you and maybe throwing, you know, more shots, not on the counter, but instead, you know, first, because obviously there was a bit of back and forth. I won't call it back and forth, but on Twitter between Jack Catterall and Turki Al-Sheikh, and Catterall says that he is not going to be as boring as he is for usual fights. Let's hope so. I am going to be in attendance, so, you know, maybe we get a much more exciting Jack Catterall. But even if we don't, I just think Jack Catterall is a much better boxer than Echo Asuman, and he will get the victory. Another great fight on this card is Adam Azim versus Kurt Scobie. Now, Adam Azim did have a different opponent originally, but that opponent pulled out, and the replacement is an even better fighter in Kurt Scobie. Now, this guy, you know, he fights usually in America, he's an American fighter, but he is great to watch, you know, kind of a knockout sort of artist fighter. He's at the OTX promotions, which are a very good promotion in America. So this is an even better matchup compared to the original one, in my opinion, and it's going to be a great fight. Now, can Adam Azim overcome Kurt Scobie? And if he's as good as everyone say he is, I am going to predict he can, right? Scobie has knocked out kind of lesser level opponents. This is definitely a step up. It's on a bit short notice, but, you know, Scobie did have a fight originally planned anyways. So it'd be a very good win for Adam Azim, and I do think he will get it. In the heavyweight division, Richard Riakporhe taking on Tommy Welch. That is going to be a pretty decent fight. Riakporhe coming up to heavyweight, and Tommy Welch obviously is a heavyweight fighter, but hasn't fought the level that Riakporhe is at. I'm going to predict Richard Riakporhe will get the win and will be too good for Tommy Welch. And also Sam Gilley taking on Ishmael Davies. Ishmael Davies obviously had a lot of fights in stadium shows, to be fair, and this is another one. I do think he will get the win against Sam Gilley. It's a must win, and he has to get the win, to be honest. He really, really does, if he wants to, you know, still be in big fights. So that is the Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn undercard. Obviously the main event is a huge one, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I will be there. I'm going to do a vlog, so that'll be uploaded after the fight, maybe a day or two after, and I will also be doing a review on the fight. It's going to be a very, very good night. If you saw the last one, then, you know, it's going to be similar. It is going to be similar. Chris Eubank Sr., Nigel Benn, they've obviously been on Talk Sport as well. And it started to heat up over fight week as well. A bit of back and forth between Eubank and Benn. So it's going to be a great fight. Comment down below your thoughts on this event. What are your predictions going into the fight live at Tottenham Hotspur on November 15th? And thank you guys for watching. I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.